Spirit to express, to come to life more and more in our daily happenings, via our words and our actions, but most importantly, by way of our thoughts. We allow those thoughts that are not true, not good, not of God, to gently go away, giving them no more power, and allowing God thoughts to fill our mind and our life. So as we take this time to go into a time of quiet, we relax and allow the quiet to become the stillness. There is no need to wait for the good that is intended for you. God intended unlimited good in your life. Open up to that good right here, right now. And see the blessings that miraculously appear in your life. See the good in every situation. And bless everyone along your path. In this we join. We say amen.
Well, I have to say thank you to Farrah for bringing the beautiful hydrangeas. I just love this color of hydrangeas, and they're so gorgeous. She said she thought of me. Where is she? There she is. So thank you for that. Also, I want to tell you a kind of precursor to the message, because it's called The Choice. And I'll tell you, it was probably about 2 or 3 months ago, Spirit kept saying to me, the choice. I mean, I get these messages sometimes about what a talk should be titled. And so I was thinking to myself, the choice, what am I going to talk about the choice, And so then Spirit led me to write the talk a couple weeks ago about do you worry or choose divine order? But the choice, in the meantime, all this had been happening, and the choice was churning and coming forth, and I had been writing down different notes that show up, and so anyway, it all came together. And when I was done with that one a couple weeks ago, I said, okay, I'm gonna take all these notes I've made and do the choice, not knowing what the political scene was looking like and what was happening. Because I don't, you can ask Warren, you can ask anybody, I don't pay attention to politics, and I don't pay attention to what is happening out there. So even though this talk might look like it could be talking about that, believe me, it's just Spirit just was speaking through me, bringing forth this message. And to me, there is no politicalness to right or wrong to it at all, okay? But I just want to say that because I know a lot of that is on people's minds right now. But my talk is about the choice, and it's really about free will and the choices we make, and faith and divine order and listening to God, which sounds like a lot to put in one message, but you'll see that it all comes together and it all comes forth and really makes sense. So anyway, I want to ask you, how many choices have you made in the last week? A lot, right? Yeah, plethora. Maybe even today. Let's just look at today. How many choices have you made today? I mean, when you think about it, we make choices all the time, and these might be some of the choices you made this morning. Do I get up now or sleep for 10 more minutes? I was asleep for 10 more minutes. Yeah. Do I wear this or that? Do I eat this for breakfast or just have coffee? Do I stop and pick up donuts or just go on? And for those of you that picked up donuts, don't tell Warren because he really likes donuts and he would have wanted you to bring him some. And you might even have asked yourself, do I come to church or not? And of course, all of you said, yes, I'm going to church. We thank you for that. But we can go on and on with just thinking about the choices that we've had to make. Even in a short period of time, we make choices that we might not even think about. You know, we just do these things on a normal basis. Do I brush my teeth? Do we wake up thinking, oh, am I going to go brush my teeth or not? No, some of these things we just do. We just make the choice that's going to be for our highest good. But what happens in that too, when we just automatically do things, we create routines for ourselves, don't we? And those routines help us get through the day. And what they really do in those moments of making choices without even thinking about it is it establishes some confidence within us that we are capable of making choices that we might not have made in the first place because we just automatically do them. Does that make sense? And so it builds a little confidence within us. And that confidence is really the power of faith moving through you, believe it or not, because faith is really that knowing that God is with you all the time and that whatever you choose is going to bring about your highest good. So when we think about just doing things automatically or just having a routine for something, really you've kind of created this for yourself. Now sometimes it is about trial and error and learning what works for us and what doesn't. But it's important for us to remember that when we make choices, sometimes we just make choices without thinking about it. And we do that a lot, don't we? Because if I asked you to list all the choices you made in the last week, I don't think you'd have enough paper right now to do that, would you? I mean, it comes down to even choosing, am I going to get a glass of water in this moment? That's a choice. But some of these things we just automatically do. Some of these things are just there. But when we remember that our choices are always there and that we have the ability to choose what our choice is, that's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? But anyway, what happens is we find a new spiritual understanding, believe it or not, because we're building within ourselves the idea of confidence, the idea of faith, and we're moving it through us to be able to go out and do more things and make more decisions and have confidence in that. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned about how free will allows us to make choices and how it allows us to think and feel and do what we need to do. And I said, free will allows us to make healthy choices or not. It is up to us and the human condition. And I talked about that human condition is the idea that carries forth the whatever our choice is. And that comes from our consciousness, okay, which is what we're living right now in this moment. Hopefully all of you have moved into to coming from your super consciousness through the meditation, through the prayers, through the songs, and you're coming from that place. But, like I explained a few weeks ago, if we first choose to go to our super consciousness, our direct connection with God, and align our choice with this power, then we will shift the human condition to a spiritual condition, because we are being guided from the omniscience and the oneness we have with God. And if you remember, I had this little diagram. If we live from within, from that Christ within us, and move that out first, it's going to shift our whole awareness. Most of the time, we're just living out here in this conscious mind, in this human condition, and letting all of this influence how we are. But when we align with God, we are utilizing that power of faith and divine order, because it's going to help us make the right choice. That's where faith is activated from the choices that we make. And we're making the right choice for the highest good for everyone. It's not just making the right choice for us, because we know sometimes we think we're making the right choice for us, but we find out later it might have hurt somebody else. Or it might not have been the end result that we wanted, and we find out it might not have been the right choice. But when we have faith and we know that God is within us, moving through us in every decision that we make, then it changes everything, because God is here to fulfill our desires, to give us everything that we want. And when we recognize this truth and we know this truth and we hold it in our thoughts, then every choice we make will be divine in nature and in divine order. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It'll be divine in nature because we are aligned with God. And the thing is, it's going to be the perfect thing that happens at the perfect time. Again, sometimes we have a hard time, thank you, Bill, have a hard time knowing that every decision we make needs to be in that alignment. Because why? We go through life in our routines. We go through life with the normal decisions that we make throughout the day without even thinking about the idea that it comes from a divine idea, that it's God moving in and through us, coming forth. We don't even think about that. But we have to stop and think about that, because that's where it's all going to shift. That's where our choices are going to affect us for the highest good and affect everyone else for the highest good. You know, we all like to think about prosperity in our lives, and prosperity is a good example to think about making the right choices. And this is from Mystery of Genesis. This is back to faith. I'm sorry, I wanted to give you this before I moved to prosperity. Fillmore's book, Mystery of Genesis. When we put our faith wholeheartedly in spiritual reality and follow our ideal without wavering, we are willing to allow sense consciousness the choice of its own field of action. So what I'm saying here is, like, if you are thinking about doing something, but you have centered on that super consciousness, that direct connection with God, that spiritual connection that we have, if you have come from that super consciousness, then whatever sense consciousness does, whatever your consciousness does, whatever you're doing out here in the human condition will be in direct alignment, and it will be the best choice, because it's all connected for the highest good. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when you take action, if you are aligned, then sense consciousness, the human condition, is not going to make it be something negative or be something against anyone. So, back to the idea of prosperity. We like to look at prosperity, and you know, we all have our prosperity affirmations. We all have prosperity that we claim in our lives. But when we look at prosperity on the idea of faith and divine order and making choices, it looks something like this. All spiritual substance that brings forth all visible wealth cannot ever be depleted. We have to know that from the beginning. Do you understand that? I mean, everything that is out there is not ever going to go away for us. If we desire something, it can come forth. It is not hidden from us. It is always with us and responds to us through our faith in claiming this truth to be so. This is where our confidence builds. This is where faith aligned with our right choice will bring about whatever we're claiming to bring forth. When we pray and we claim forth health, when we claim that we have the abundance of all there is to pay our bills, that whatever we need is going to be taken care when we claim that with the idea of true faith and we make the choice that's for the highest good coming from that place, what are we going to get? Everything that we desire. It'll be unlimited. It'll be there for us. And no matter how many times we talk about lack, that we don't have enough or have nothing, how many people have done that before? You know, you sit there and say, I don't have enough. I can't pay that. I can't do that. Oh no, I don't have the time for that. I mean, that's even a prosperity thing. When you say you don't have the time, or you don't have the way to get there, or you don't, oh, I really want to go on that cruise, but there's no way I can go. I mean, I have heard people say that. They're negating their own life right there and then. You're not making the right choice. You're not aligning with super consciousness. Because, see, spiritual substance is not affected by any type of lack words that come out of our mouth. Because spiritual substance, God, is all that there is. Anything that we say, who is it going to affect? Is it affecting God? No, it is only affecting us. Because we're claiming it for ourselves. I mean, God's sitting there going, I got everything that you ever want. But if you say, I can't have that right now, or I can't do that right now, what are you going to get?
Nothing.
Exactly. You say, I'm not healthy, what are you going to get? Not healthy. Yes, we have to be in that idea that that is what prosperity means. You're connected to the all-powerful spiritual substance of all there is. Now, we all know that the law of mind action, where thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Sorry. And so we know that our own thoughts can affect us. But they do not affect God. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't affect the spiritual substance of the universe. All it affects is us. So any negative thoughts we're saying, or any choices we're making that aren't healthy, or, anything, and in that, the choices we make that are unhealthy, I want to say this. Sometimes we think, oh, that means I can't have a piece of cake. But it depends on what you've wrapped in your mind and your thoughts around that piece of cake. Am I having a piece of cake or a bite of cake, or am I eating the whole dang cake? You know what I'm saying? So all those things are not making the right choice or the wrong choice. I mean, but when we stay aligned and when we come from that place, we are going to demonstrate faith in our lives. We're going to build confidence in knowing that God is here to supply us with all that there is, that God is unfailing. This is what we have to remember, and it might shock your world. I don't know, but we have a choice. God does not have a choice. Do you believe that? It's kind of hard to swallow sometimes, but the thing is, we, as a human being, get to make choices. We have free will. Yes? Yes. God doesn't make a choice. God doesn't say, okay, today, Lois, you're going to get a check for $2,000, and Dee Dee, I'm sorry, you're not having anything. God doesn't do that. God doesn't say, Kay, you can eat whatever you want and never gain a pound. But Jerry, I'm sorry, you're going to gain 50 this week. God doesn't do that, does he?
Hold on
No, God doesn't choose like that, because God is only good. That's right. God is only good. And God only wants good for us. So God's not going to choose, God's going to choose this week that, no, only 6 people are going to have good and the rest of the world is going to have bad. No, because God is good all the time. And God doesn't choose. God wants everybody to have everything that they ever wanted to have. We're the only ones that choose. We are the only ones that have a choice, or the choice. And it's up to us to decide what the choice is going to be. Right?
Right.
We get to decide. God's not going to do it for us. Anyway, because, the other thing is that we do forget this sometimes, that choice, in that choice is all that we ever desire, and we cut ourselves off from that. And when we do that, that's that negative thinking, or that we label negative thinking, or the falsehood in our consciousness from the human condition. The human condition feeding us all that's going on in the world through Facebook, through social media, through the news, through our friends making comments, through somebody trying to control you in a relationship, or all this negative stuff, going down the street, cussing at the other drivers, whatever it is that you're throwing into the universe, it is our choice, and we are the ones who bring it back to us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're making that choice. So we have to take that falsehood of those ideas out of our head. And we have to take the idea of lack out. We have to just move it with faith. Faith that whatever it is that we want to see in our lives, the good that we want to see, is here for us. So we go back to this idea about God, and we say, if we believe there is only one presence and one power, God the good omnipotent. Everybody believe that?
Yes.
Yes, because we say it every week. Then we must, and some people might not call it God. Some people might call it the universe or unlimited substance of all there is, but the idea of something greater than ourselves. Then we must pour our mind, heart, and soul into living from the faith we have put into these words, and allow the manifestation of good to demonstrate in our lives. When we say there is only one presence and one power, we are saying that God is here in my life, ready to give me all that I desire, all that I need. And all I have to do is align with that truth, and it will come forth for you. We put the parameters on it. We choose. Oh, I want all that there is in the universe, God, please give it to me. But then I want a pink Cadillac, and can I have heated seats? And we start putting parameters on it. I said pink Cadillac because we were talking about Mary Kay earlier. But anyway, it's Linda Kay, but she was talking about how some people call her Mary Kay. Anyway, back to the story. But we do that. We put parameters on our highest good, don't we? Instead of allowing the good to come forth. We can say we need a new car, or we need it's the underlying divine idea is transportation to get to what we need to get to. So if we go to that place, then the perfect thing's going to show up, and guess what? We're going to be elated because it'll be better than what we could even have pictured in our minds. But the minute we start putting parameters on that, and the choice being so defined, it might not ever show up, or it'll show up 10 years from now maybe. You see what I'm saying? And what happens in that time? We usually get disappointed, don't we? We lose our confidence. We think, I thought I prayed that up enough. I thought I put it on my prayer request every week for 10 weeks, and why isn't it happening? Why am I not getting that little thing that I wanted? Because we have limited our choice. We have limited our own self. And we don't want to go to that place, do we? No, say no. No. But we can use our faith to bring forth that pure energy of God and bring forth that pure energy of plenty into all of our affairs, because it is our choice. In the Revealing Word, Fillmore wrote this. However, we do not teach principles boldly without regard to whether mortal man accepts or rejects. It is ours to give forth the truth, and that's capital T truth, which we know is God ideas, all that. The responsibility of acceptance rests with those who hear. If the higher self hears the word and the lower self resists and rebels, that is a matter for the individual to work out according to his own choice and faith. It's our choice and how much faith we have in that choice. And so if we hear something and we know it, sitting here, right now, you're hearing these words, and if you claim those words for yourself and you back it up with the faith that you have within you, that you believe in the one presence and one power of God, then it will not serve you to go out and negate your life, because you are choosing against the idea of what the higher self already knows. Does that make sense? If you hear yourself say something and you go, oh, wait a minute, that's going against what I really know is capital T truth. Well, back up those words and say it in a different way, because that energy is going out into the universe. That energy is coming through you, and you have made the choice to take the true divine ideas, the truth from God that is coming through that Christ within you, that superconscious. You are making that choice to change it into something of lack or negativity or whatever. And all you have to do is back it up, take a few steps back, and rethink it and re-say it and bring forth that idea of faith and confidence and hold it. We do that in our prayers so easily, or affirmations. We hold the faith and the confidence. We have to do that with every thought we make or every word we say. You got me?
Yes.
I kind of like this little thing here where it says, what is faith? Not a mental crutch, not a divine ATM. Don't you love that one? Some people act like it is, but anyway, it's not. Anyway, but each person is called forth to make their own opinion and to in every situation, right? We all have choices in every situation what we make. I might love Judy's shirt. Somebody else might not like it at all. And that's okay, isn't it? Yes?
Yes.
Just because we might have our own opinion about something doesn't mean it's good or bad. I mean, some people like the weather when it's like this. Other people don't. Politics. You know that's another thing. Some people like politics, some people don't. Some people are on this side of politics, some people are on that side of politics. But what we have to do in any situation when we make a choice is we have to discern what our souls are saying to us that resonates with us. We have the ability to choose what we can tolerate or what we feel is unjust, don't we? That's the power of free will. We can say, this is great, I love this, or no, I don't love this. Correct?
Yes.
And we have the ability to rally behind anything that we feel like speaks to our souls. And we can stand behind everything that we think is humane and the right cause and the right thing. But every opinion of every single person, and even your own opinion, must come from that Christ within you, that super consciousness. Because what we find ourselves doing when we don't do that is we find ourselves making false judgment and error thinking. We start calling something negative, or we start shaming somebody else, or we start pointing the fingers that that's good or that's bad or whatever. It's okay to have your own choice of what you think something is, but you cannot go to somebody else and point to them and say, why aren't you thinking the same way I am? You got me? Yeah. Because the result will be unhealthy words and actions from our own selves. And who makes the choice for us? We do. So even if we don't resonate with something that's going on in the world, then we have to also be able to turn that into what's the divine underlying divine idea that could change that. You know, all the fighting going on in the other parts of the world. What's the divine idea? Send love. Hold those people in a place where they can forgive and move through whatever's happening with love. These random shooters that hit the schools in different places. There's something disconnecting with them. They have lost the idea of faith within themselves and have lost their confidence as a spiritual being and over-exaggerated their human condition, and they think that's confidence to go in and start shooting somebody, but that isn't. And the divine idea behind that is still sending love and seeing somebody in the light and love of God, which is hard to do, and to forgive them for what they have done. Because who is it going to hurt? Yourself. It'll hurt you as a spiritual being. We have to move in this world that every choice is important to each and every person, and we have to be respectful in that. Because what happens is when we start making judgments against anything or saying something is unhealthy or something isn't right, we start looking like the bigots and the racists and the hypocrites that we're pointing fingers at. And we don't want to go down that path. We want to take a breath and go, wow, some divine idea needs to come through this. There's 12 divine ideas on these walls, as the banners represent. One of those, maybe spiritual understanding, the gold one is for understanding. Maybe there needs to be more spiritual understanding sent forth. But when we switch up and we go to that super consciousness, then we are not going to that place of being the judge judge of the situation. Everything we do, we have to take that breath and turn within to that Christ within. Myrtle Fillmore gave us some real profound advice, I thought, in Healing Letters when she wrote this. To know how to hear with the mind and to discern and discriminate between the true and real and worthwhile and that which is mere foolishness and the clatter of elements not yet organized under law, and she's talking about spiritual law. And to realize that one may be obedient and receptive without giving up one's right to freedom of choice and action is real accomplishment. We don't have to give up our choices. We don't have to give up our rights that are ours, that are given to us freely. We don't have to give up anything when we align with God and the super consciousness. All we are doing is shifting the energy from all of that is out there causing the pain and the sorrow and the bigotry and the racism and everything, and we're switching it to and feeding it God's love and God's energy. And won't that make a difference? Yes. Won't that make a difference? Yes. I want you to, I really, to me it's like so powerful. We have to get to that place, because if we're not going to do it, who's going to do it? You know, the fifth principle is make a difference. And I've marched for peace before, you know. We march for peace a lot in unity, and I believe in that. I will not march for war. But I believe the biggest difference we can make is in our own thinking, in our own choices, in our own alignment with that super consciousness of God that's moving through us. And that energy is what shifts the world, that changes. We don't know how many people it's going to change, but we have to come from that pureness of truth and see the divine ideas underlining every condition and say, bring that forth. Bring that up through you to change what's going on in the world. And I hear an amen.
Yes. Amen.
You know, sometimes we think, I think, that when we make a choice that it's like put in stone, like, oh God, I made this choice. And let me tell you, a few months ago I made a choice, and I thought I was making the best choice for the highest good for this ministry. And I you know, I do believe that at that time I thought that. And later I rethunk it, if that's a word. We say that around here, don't we? Anyway, and I thought to myself, well, maybe this isn't for the highest good. But it's a little bit of a swallow to tell yourself, oh, I made this choice. And somebody might think, oh, she made that choice, and now look, you know, why did she do that? But we can't take that to a personal place. I had to say to myself, hey, I made a choice. It's not carved in stone. I can make a new choice for the highest good. We get stuck sometimes with our own ego and our own human condition and say, oh, I don't want anybody to know I made the wrong choice. I don't want anybody to know that I chose to wear that to that event and everybody laughed at me or whatever. You know, you want to move beyond that. And the thing is that when we see that it's not stuck in stone or anything like that, then what happens is that the only thing that changes is the decision that we once made. We're not changing. We're still who we are. We've just reached a newer, higher plateau because we've realized, oh, the highest good looks more like this rather than this. You see what I'm saying? Again, if we don't do that, if we get stuck in the idea of the ego and saying, oh, I don't want anybody to know I made the wrong choice, then what happens is we are not allowing the highest good to come forth for us or for anybody else. We don't have to look at it like it's a dent in our armor or that it's anything to do with us. And this is where faith can jump to the forefront of your thoughts and reassure us that God still wants the highest good for you. And in the situation, the highest good for the ministry, the highest good for everyone concerned. And it is always possible because of the idea of faith. Faith, I love this because if we think about faith, it's just being that knowing that you know, beyond knowing. Think about this. It's knowing that you know, beyond knowing, that God is always with you. That no matter what you're doing, if you just turn within and feel God, you are activating the power of faith, which changes everything. It's the first power. And when we get to the point that we can make choices without thinking about it, we are building that power of faith. Because we are building on a spiritual understanding that God wants us to experience everything through divine order at the right time and place. Thus, we begin to trust in the guidance of this truth through having faith in ourselves to make the best choices. You believe that?
Yes.
Now, we might resist the guidance sometimes. Anybody ever do that?
Yes.
We might doubt our choice. Oh, I made that choice, but oh, is that going to be the right one? Yeah? Anybody do that? And sometimes we might just sit there going, I really can't make a choice. I'm like torn. I like this, but gosh, what do I do? You're driving yourself crazy in that moment too, aren't you? Yeah. You know, what do you do in that moment? Stop. I have this new thing at Aiden's school where if a kid's, picking on another kid, not picking, but they go up and push or something, they go, stop. So he's going to stop. So that's what we need to do. We need to stop, and we need to breathe, and we need to say, go back to the Christ within and say, I can make a decision. The right decision is coming forth. And when we do that, we know which direction to go, and we will boldly go with the power of faith. It's really cool. So anyway, Judy is going to sing a song for us for special music, and it's a neat song. I think Faith Rivera. Janice Stanfield, that's right. It's called If I Were Brave. And the whole premise behind it is to have the courage to live your walk and to make a difference in the world and to have faith and know that the highest good is coming forth. And that it's never too late to make a choice. Even if we made one choice this morning, we can make another choice right now, right here. Because it is up to us to ask for the guidance. All we have to do is ask for guidance. God, give me some guidance. I know you're going to bring it forth. Through the power of faith, I know I'm going to get the guidance. And then we have to follow through, don't we? We can't just sit on the couch and say, okay, God, I'm glad you guided me on this, but I'm going to sit here. No, we have to go ahead and start taking the steps forward. And then we will know beyond knowing that every decision is the choice. Thank you for being here today, God.